Hello, memory allocation. There are two kinds of memory allocation you can do. One is called static memory allocation. This is something you have already seen. Let me just. So static memory allocation and versus dynamic memory allocation. So this talk will be about dynamic memory allocation, and I will convince you that you already know static memory allocation. Okay. You have written int AR, so an array of 100 integers. You have declared an array of 100 integers. So when you write a program with this, what happens? This program is compiled by the compiler, and an output, a machine readable code is generated, right? And when the code is run, when the program is run, what happens is the following. This memory, the memory to 400 integers is now allocated before the program execution starts. Okay. That's why it's called static memory. Okay. The program, before your execution starts, this memory is allocated. Now, this could be statically allocated because you have already told the compiler how much integers are required. You have told the compiler that 100 integers are required. So therefore, the compiler can do whatever is required to store 100 integers. It's clear? Right. Now imagine the following case. When you write the code, you don't know how many integers are required. Okay. You might have already seen this thing. When you return a program, you don't know how much, what should be the string length, right? Because this is something you might be taking from the user. So this can happen. The memory, the array size which is required might be coming from the user, and in this case, you wouldn't know how much memory to be allocated when you write the program, right? So that is dynamic. So that will require dynamic memory allocation. Okay. So all these things, whenever you declare a variable, all these variables you declare are going to be static memory, and the compiler does whatever is required. Now I am skipping a lot of details here because how the memory is allocated, everything. There are a lot of things to be understood there. There are different kinds of memory areas where certain things are allocated, etc. So I am going to skip all those details because these are things which you can. The rest of the talk we will be looking at dynamic memory. There are basically 4 functions which are required for dynamic memory. So let's talk about the first function. So first of all these 4 functions are in the file called as stdlib. So you need to hash include this. Okay. Standard library.h, stdlib.h, you need to hash include this file. What are the 4 functions which we are going to use? First, first one we will see is called as malloc or memory allocation. So it stands for memory allocation, so malloc. What does it do? What is it we are required? We are interested in. Let's say we are interested in allocating memory for 100 integers. That's our interest. Right? Allocate 100 integers dynamically. Allocate memory for 100 integers dynamically. That's what we are interested in. And I'm going to use the malloc function for that. And what will the function take? It basically takes what is the memory you are interested in? How much memory are you interested in? Okay. And it's asking you that in bytes. So you need to give the malloc function the memory we want in bytes. Okay, you need to pass to that function the memory in bytes. Okay, so this function requires the memory in bytes. So now I want 100 integers. So what will I pass? What will I pass to that function? I'm going to call this function malloc with 100 into this memory in bytes is required, right? 100 into how many bytes per integer. And how many bytes per integer? That we don't know because it depends on the machine whether it's 2 bytes or 4 bytes. But we know how to get that information. How do I get that? I can use size of. Okay, so I call malloc function with 100 into size of int, and what will the function do? It goes when it gets this call, it takes this, it gets this information, it allocates that much memory, that many bytes, and what will it return? It has to return a memory location, right? So malloc allocates this 100 integer memory and it's going to return a pointer to this position. The start of this memory block it's going to return. It's clear? Okay. Now, this pointer which is going to return, is it going to be int star or char star or float star? How will it return? It does not know why. Malloc only knows that I want this many bytes. It does not know I am interested in 100 integers, right? All it knows is that I want this many bytes of memory, but it does not know I wanted 100 integers, right? So it can't return an int star. So what it returns is, it returns a void star pointer. So it returns a void star pointer. So therefore what I can do is the following. I can declare a void star pointer and get what is returned. So now this void star ptr basically points to this location. The void ptr dptr basically points to this location. Is that clear? It's clear. Okay. But this one slide case, what were we interested in? We wanted an integer array, right? We wanted an integer block of integers. I can declare an integer pointer and a typecast. So this operation is called as typecast. So I change, so the vptr is a void star pointer and I change its type to int star pointer and take that. Right? That's what this is called as typecast. That's all we did. I changed the type of this into an int star and now gets it into an int star pointer. This is one way I could get an integer pointer. And now we know this integer pointer now is basically looking at this entire block of memory allocated starting from this point. Okay, so that is ptr is also pointing to this point. Okay, so this is malloc. Next function we are interested in is called as calloc. Okay. So calloc takes two parameters. So calloc is going to look like almost similar to malloc. It's also going to allocate some block of memory, but it allocates in a different manner. That's all. So now calloc takes two parameters. First is how many elements do we want? So we want 100 integers. So how many such things do we want? So we have to pass in. So we pass in 100. Okay. Right. So basically it's asking how many of the particular data type do you want. So I give 100. Next it is asking is what is the size of one of them. Okay. So here we want integer. So what is the size of an integer? So that's the second parameter to be passed. Okay. Now I pass both these parameters. What will it return? It returns again a void pointer. So I want a void pointer. I get a void pointer. So what can I do? I can typecast this just like earlier. Okay. This is the second thing. I just wrote these two lines into one, made it into one, and it's saying the CLOC returns a void pointer, which is then typecast into an int star, and that's now assigned to a pointer PTR, an int star pointer PTR. This is CLOC. Okay. Now, so CLOC and MLOC, so both MLOC and CLOC basically allocates you the same amount of memory. But then what is the difference? The difference is the following. Whenever you use CLOC does one more thing. It makes, once it allocates this memory, what it does is, it for all the memory location, it goes and fills in the value 0. So this is all filled with zeros. It's initialized with 0. That's what CLOC does. So initializes memory with zeros. So realloc. What's realloc? So imagine that we have already allocated 100 integers. So we just did that here, right? We allocated 100 integers here. Now, and during the programming, during the run of the program, I realized that no, 100 is not enough. I want to make it into 200 integers. But I already allocated 100 integers, and now I want to make it into 200 integers. Okay? So that's reallocation for you. Realloc will help you to enlarge your memory from 100 to 200. Okay. So what are the parameters you have to for this realloc? First parameter is you have to pass in the pointer of the memory location which you want to realloc. So in this case it's PTR, right? And I realized that this 100 integers is not enough for PTR and I want it to be 200. Now, so if I want this to be 200, just one second. I'm going to leave some space. Now I want to make it to be 200. So I want it to be 200 integers. So the next is basically exact as the format as malloc. So I'll just write this will now allocate 200 integers. Okay. So initially PTR had 100 integers and that's now replaced with, that's been now removed and it's made into 200 integers. And what will this function return? This function will now return a different pointer, a different place which is basically consists of 200 integers. A location for 200 integers will now be returned to you. So again, if you want to take that, you need to take it into a pointer with I just took it into a new pointer nptr and that pointer now gets a bigger block of 200 integers. NPTR points to that location. Okay. PTR used to point to that location. Now, one small thing. So our PTR was pointing to this location, and in the memory of the PTR there was a lot of information, right? It was 10 in the first location, maybe 100 here, 300 here, some numbers were there in each of these locations, because in our program we might have used that. Now, if that's the case, what do we, so when I do this realloc, sorry, this is not malloc, this is realloc. Okay, so if that was the case, when you do this realloc, all this information will be lost, right? All this information in this array will be lost, right? No, realloc helps us in this. Realloc, when, even though it allocates this a bigger, larger array with 200 integers, it will ensure that the first 100 integers are exactly like your previous 100 integers. So this will be the same, 10, 100, 300, it will all be exactly like it was in your previous array. Finally, we are coming to the last function called free. What does free do? Free is basically, you have allocated this memory, right? Let's say you have NTPR. NTPR is a pointer which points to this 200 integers. Now, this is something you have dynamically allocated. Now, as soon as you are finished using this memory location, as soon as you don't want this memory location again, you need to free the space. Okay, this is very important that everything you allocate should be freed before you exit the program. This is a very important thing you have to do when you write your program. Now, so you have to free this by calling this function free with the pointer which you want to free. When you call this function, free will look at this pointer in PTR and freeze all this space, so that now this space can then be used for other purpose. So this is very important that you have to do that. Now, one question, how does free know that how much memory is there, how much memory is NPTR pointing to? Or in other words, when you created NPTR, how much memory was allocated, right? How does free know this thing? Okay, so now that's basically, so there's a lot of internal thing happening here. So when this memory was allocated to NPTR by either malloc or realloc or calloc, this is table maintained. Okay, this is I'm giving you a very brief, very abstract idea of how this works. So a table is maintained by your machine, where when you allocate memory using malloc or calloc or realloc, the table has this information is being, the following information is stored. First is the pointer, the address, and then how much memory was allocated starting from that address. Right? So this is not 100 or 200, this is 100 into size of it. So let's call it 2. Right? So 200 bytes here and 400 bytes here was allocated. This table is maintained by your machine. Okay, actually this is maintained by this malloc and calloc. So when you call this function, it's internally coded inside that function that this table has to be maintained, etc. So that function does this thing, and when you call this free looks at this table and then removes whatever is removes the entire memory. How much memory needs to be freed, it now knows, and it will free that. Okay, so this is basically how malloc and free works internally. Just wanted to give you an idea of that. Okay, so these are the 4 important functions for dynamic memory allocation. Thanks.